Those three words, incompetence, corruption, and cruelty, landed like a sledgehammer when Dean opened his attack on Attorney General Bondi. What you're about to see isn't just tough questioning. It's 47 seconds of surgical precision that exposed a pattern so damaging it could end a career. Watch how one congressman's relentless pursuit of truth turned a routine confirmation into a public reckoning.
The three hallmarks of this administration are incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. I'm going to focus today on corruption. And in my mind, there are two types of corruption: personal, and then the other I'm going to call public, governmental. Attorney General, have you ever been registered as an agent of a foreign principal under the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
I assume you're talking about when I represented the country of Qatar for a very short time.
The answer is yes. No,
hold
excuse
on.
me.
No, for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Anti-human trafficking
or
for the
no?
World Cup.
Attorney
You can't
General,
put words in my mouth.
No.
You want to talk about incompetence? You're the one that said Joe Biden on PBS was competent. You had to retract those words.
Mr.
So don't
Chairman,
talk to me. Don't insult me publicly.
This is so discourteous. This is so outside the committee's guidelines. Taking a personal shot at me while swiping at Biden? Very strange and very unprofessional of you. The answer is yes or no, and the answer is yes. You were registered as a lobbyist for Qatar. Is that correct? Yes. Never mind, don't answer. Did you disclose that when you went before the Senate for confirmation? Yes or no? No, it was not in your documents. The answer is no. President Trump...
This was discussed at my confirmation hearings in detail.
It was discussed, but you failed to bring up the conflict that you had. President Trump recently announced he'd accept that $400 million Qatar airplane because it was just prettier than the one he was flying around in. Is it true that you gave advice that this was legally permissible? Yes or no?
I will not discuss any advice that my Office of Legal Counsel gives to the President of the United States on any matter.
When you spoke before the Senate, you said you would ask for ethical advice. Did you recuse yourself from that issue?
And talking about unprofessional, you say the President wanted a jet because it's pretty?
Excuse
Come
me.
on, this is a Senate, this is
He
a
said it
congressional
himself.
hearing.
He said it himself. Let me go to April the 2nd. You're a part of this, the president has dabbled in meme coin. He had the DOJ, disband the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. His son recently launched the Executive Branch Club, a private club with $500,000 memberships here in D.C. Any of this seem like it might be a problem, might be profiteering from the office, and maybe you and your ethics team might be concerned about these conflicts of interest, your own and the president and his family? Yes or no? Any concerns?
What I would be concerned about in Pennsylvania are all the child sex cases that we've prosecuted, all the CSAM cases that we've prosecuted.
Did you hear
in
my question?
Pennsylvania.
I
That's
asked
what
the
I would
witness
be
to
concerned
actually
about.
answer questions that are asked.
Congresswoman Dean.
Chairman?
Please let the witness answer the question.
She didn't. And I would like to ask you one more question. You're not just complicit in this, you're actively helping and profiting. Isn't it true that on April the 2nd, the same day that Trump announced his chaotic tariff regime that plummeted the stock market, you sold more than $1 million worth of your shares in Trump Media stock? Trump Media stock fell 13% in the following days. Seems you avoided that loss. Well done. I yield back.
May I answer that, Chairman? I complied with my ethics, and yeah, I would take a class in financial literacy if you think I profited from that, because I lost a tremendous amount of money. Congresswoman, and also on page 25 of my SJ2, it lists my involvement with Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Thank you.
What Congressman Dean did wasn't just political theater. It was a methodical dismantling of ethical guardrails, separating public service from personal profit. When he opened with incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. He was setting up a framework to expose a pattern most Americans never see. Let's start with the Qatar connection. Dean pressed so hard. When Bondi represented Qatar as a foreign agent, she entered a legal gray area that matters enormously for an attorney general. The Foreign Agents Registration Act requires transparency to prevent foreign influence over American policy. Dean's persistence on disclosure wasn't nitpicking, it was exposing a potential integrity gap at the highest levels of law enforcement. The moment Bondi tried to deflect with anti-human trafficking for the World Cup, Dean shut that down immediately. Why? Because the underlying legal obligation doesn't change based on the cause you're advocating for. If you're paid by a foreign government, you register. If you don't disclose it properly during Senate confirmation, you've compromised the process that's supposed to vet conflicts of interest. Then Dean moved to the financial timeline that should concern every American. On April 2nd, the same day Trump announced tariffs that crashed the market, Bondi sold over $1 million in Trump media stock. The stock fell 13% in following days. Dean's point wasn't that she made money. It was that she appeared to have information that allowed her to avoid losses that ordinary investors suffered. That's not just ethically problematic for an attorney general. It's potentially illegal insider trading. Bondi's defense that she lost money misses Dean's actual accusation. The issue isn't whether she profited. It's whether she used advanced knowledge of government policy to time her trades. An attorney general with that information advantage raises questions about equal justice under law. Dean also touched on cryptocurrency enforcement, highlighting how the Justice Department disbanded the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team just as the president launched his own meme coin. This isn't coincidence. It's institutional capture. The pattern Dean exposed is systematic corruption, where public office becomes a platform for personal enrichment. When the Attorney General has undisclosed foreign agent work, suspicious stock trades, and oversees the dismantling of enforcement that could affect her boss's business interests, you don't have independent law enforcement anymore. Notice how Bondi handled Dean's questions. Instead of direct answers, she deflected to prosecuting child exploitation cases. A classic technique to avoid accountability by changing the subject to something unassailable. Dean didn't let her escape, returning to the specific ethical failures. The broader stakes go beyond one confirmation hearing. If the Attorney General operates with conflicts of interest, selective enforcement becomes inevitable. Cases involving political allies get different treatment. The rule of law becomes the rule of loyalty. What should concern every American is how easily these ethical boundaries are being erased. Dean's 47-second attack wasn't just about Bondi, it was about whether we'll accept corruption as the price of political power or demand that public servants actually serve the public. This moment matters because institutions don't self-correct. They require people like Dean willing to ask uncomfortable questions and citizens willing to demand answers. If we treat this as just another political fight instead of a test of institutional integrity, we'll wake up in a country where justice serves power instead of truth. Consider what happened in those final seconds when Dean accused Bondi of actively helping and profiteering. Her response revealed everything. Instead of addressing the substance, she claimed financial illiteracy as a defense. But here's what she didn't mention. The timing precision of her stock sale suggests either remarkable coincidence or advanced knowledge. Neither option inspires confidence in an attorney general. Dean's strategy was brilliant because he didn't rely on speculation. Every accusation was tied to documented actions and dates. April 2nd stock sale. Same-day tariff announcement. 13% stock decline. Disbanded cryptocurrency team. Each fact built on the previous one, creating an unavoidable pattern of institutional capture. The exchange about Qatar was particularly damaging because it exposed how foreign agent work gets sanitized for public consumption. Anti-human trafficking sounds noble, but the legal obligation remains unchanged. When public officials reframe their conflicts of interest as humanitarian work, they're manipulating public perception while avoiding accountability. What makes this corruption particularly insidious is how it operates through legal mechanisms. Bondi didn't break laws overtly. She used regulatory capture, selective disclosure, and strategic timing to serve private interests while maintaining plausible deniability. It's sophisticated corruption that requires sophisticated exposure, exactly what Dean provided. The downstream effects are already visible. Career prosecutors who see political interference in high-profile cases start self-censoring. Agents avoid investigations that might displease leadership. Justice becomes risk management instead of truth-seeking. Dean's questioning forced these dynamics into public view, making them harder to ignore.